Hey guys, welcome to the campaign page. This is the lifeblood of Opesta. This is where the majority of the things that you do are going to take place and where you'll set those up, all right? So when you first hit this page, your screen will look slightly different than mine. It will probably say that you currently have no campaigns and you'll have this add campaign button. What you want to do is you'll want to add a campaign. You can name this whatever you would want. And then you would create that. Now, at any time, you can always, rename the campaign. You can copy an existing campaign, or you can delete the campaign, and it's very, very simple. Now, I want to show you how campaigns are structured and how they work, all right? So inside of every campaign, you have sequences, all right? And so the best way to think of this is just levels of organization. So, for example, I would probably create a campaign for a marketing effort that I'm doing, let's say a webinar. But inside that webinar, there's different sequences of messages that I'll want to send to people depending on what point in the funnel they're in, all right? So I can go ahead and create a campaign for that messenger webinar or whatever my webinar might be. And then in that, I would have the option to create sequences. So when you first hit this, you would be able to create a sequence just like we did create a campaign. And you'll see that I've created some sequences already. So the first sequence is to get people to register for the webinar. The second sequence is messages to send to people that attended the webinar but did not buy. The third sequence is a segment of people who attended the webinar and bought. Maybe I'll send them different messages. And then the third sequence is people who missed the webinar. So when you're thinking about sequences, just think about basically segments or different spots in a funnel that somebody could be, and what messaging you would want to send to them. Obviously, you want to send specific messages to specific people depending on where they're at in their buying process, and so that's where these sequences come in. So once you've created a sequence, you'll go inside a sequence and you'll see these three buttons. You have triggers, content, and goals. Right now, goals is coming soon, and I'm going to go through these and show you what each one of them does, all right? Triggers is how somebody is added to a sequence. What triggers them to be inputted into the sequence? And you can go and you can add a trigger, and we're constantly adding more triggers here. But the existing ones we have is somebody maybe gets hit with a specific tag that adds them to a sequence. Somebody comments on a post that's specified that you'll reply to them. That adds them to a specific sequence. Somebody clicks on a send to messenger button. That triggers them to a sequence. Somebody submits a form that has a send to messenger checkbox trigger in it. That can submit them to a sequence. Now, when you go to each one of these, there'll be videos explaining them each further and how to set them up. But right now, I want to just give you a high-level overview of triggers. So triggers, you can have multiple ones, and you can do and or connections. Right now, and only works if you want to segment somebody who also has a tag added to them. So let's say, for example, you have an offer that you're giving to people, but you only want it to send to people if they already are a customer. So you could have this a button trigger and say you also need to have a tag that says customer on you. And so they would need both, all right? So this would, if somebody clicked on this button and they didn't have this tag, they wouldn't be entered into this sequence. It wouldn't trigger, all right? So that's how triggers work. It's what brings people into your sequence. The next portion is what happens once this sequence is triggered? What actions do you want Opesta to take? So in here is where you add your content or the actions that you want Opesta to take. It's very simple. Right now you can add tags or messages. And in this, you can then set the delay. So right now in this one, you can see that as soon as somebody enters, immediately we add a tag to them that says December 12th webinar registrant. This is because we want to tag people who are registered just so we can stay organized. The next thing is we send a message to them, all right? So this is sequence item 2, and you can see this message here. Thank you for registering for this December 12th webinar. If I wanted to edit this, I can simply go and edit it and do all kinds of awesome stuff with messages, all right? And on these pages, we'll show you, there'll be another video that shows you exactly how to edit messages and things like that, all right? And then finally, you can say, all right, let's add another message here. After a day, let's send a new message to somebody. And let's, start out with having an image there. and we'll just add an image and then have our text, whatever it might be, all right? So that's kind of the next step. And then you can go in and see here, and let's say I want to give this a little name. I can come in and say, edit, thank you, message, all right? And that'll give that a name there for us. So it says thank you message, and you can name these whatever you want. Finally, in your sequence, you have goals. And what will happen here when this is added is you'll be able to say, okay, once this is the goal of this sequence. For example, the sequence that we're in right now is the goal is to get somebody to register for the webinar, all right? So this goal might be when somebody hits our webinar page, so let's say it's /webinar room, this goal has been completed. Stop sending them this content once this goal has been completed. If somebody gets this tag added to them, this goal has been completed. They've finished this sequence. And then in this goal, you'll also be able to specify, once this goal is completed, remove them from this sequence and send them to this sequence, or finish the messages in this sequence. Whatever you might want to set up for your goal, you'll be able to specify that, all right? And that's what a campaign, the campaign section looks like, and really what the lifeblood of Opesta is, all right? So you have your campaign. Inside your campaign, you have sequences. Inside your sequences, you have triggers, that what triggers enter somebody into the sequence, what content then goes to those people depending on, you know, the sequence, and then what the goal for that sequence is, all right? So very, very simple. I'm really excited to see how you use it, and really looking forward to helping you grow your business.